A man walks into a bank in Los Angeles to close some accounts in his name. He waits his turn and hands over his documents. They don't stop him. They don't congratulate him. They arrest him. His crime? Being himself. But the truth was even more twisted. The man who had stolen his name had been using it for over 30 years. He had married under that false identity, had a child, and built an entire professional career. William Woods, the real one, had spent decades carrying the weight of his own name. By August 2019, he was homeless. He just wanted to close some accounts and regain control of his financial life. But when the bank clerk called the number linked to the accounts, the man who answered didn't hang up. He faxed over a driver's license, a social security card, and a birth certificate. They all belonged to Woods, and they all looked authentic. The problem is, they also looked like they were his. This is the story of an identity theft so perfect, so prolonged, that for over 3 decades the victim was treated as the imposter, and the imposter as the victim. To solve it, a lawyer and a judge weren't enough. It took a DNA test and a detective who knew how to listen to a stranger on the phone. To understand the scale of the deception, we have to go back to 1988 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. There, William Woods and Matthew Kierans shared shifts on a hot dog cart. One night, according to Woods, his wallet disappeared. He only got it back after threatening his coworker. That episode, which could have been a forgettable anecdote, was actually the prologue to 3 decades of impersonation. Shortly after, Kierans completely abandoned his own identity. He began to live, work, get insured, and file taxes as if he were Woods. Driver's licenses, credit, loans, taxes, every document carried the other man's name. But how do you maintain a false identity for 30 years without the system noticing? In December 1990, Kierans obtained a Colorado ID in Woods' name. In September 1991, he bought a car for $600 with bad checks. The arrest warrant that was issued as a result wasn't for Kierans. It was for the real William Woods. The system, unknowingly, had already switched sides. In 1994, Kierans got married in Oregon. The couple had a child who carries the Woods surname. 30 years of shared life. That family name belonged to a man sleeping on the streets. Kierans had built an entire family on the stolen name. But one piece was still missing, the original birth certificate. In 2012, Kierans went even further. He obtained a certified copy of Woods' birth certificate in Kentucky using data from Ancestry.com. That document, signed by a civil registry, would become his ultimate shield. With it, he could pass virtually any check. He landed a job as a systems architect at the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics. He worked remotely from his home in Wisconsin, and over a 10-year period he received at least $700,000 from the institution. All through a fraudulent form, using the real Woods' social security number and date of birth. An entire university paid a salary for a decade to someone who officially didn't exist. Between 2016 and 2022, on top of that, he took out vehicle and personal loans in Woods' name for over $200,000. 30 years of borrowed life, propped up with the other man's paperwork. Meanwhile, the real William Woods was sleeping on the streets. And then, on August 20th, 2019, the real Woods walked into a bank branch in Los Angeles. He wanted to close the accounts opened in his name. He couldn't answer the security questions. The bank clerk called the number linked to the accounts. On the other end, Kierans answered correctly and added one precise phrase: no one in California should have access to those accounts. The police were alerted. LAPD officers spoke with Kierans by phone. He faxed them a social security card, a Wisconsin driver's license, and a Kentucky birth certificate. Flawless documents, all obtained fraudulently, but all legally issued. The officers arrested Woods for unauthorized use of personal information. The real Woods was booked and locked up. The imposter, hundreds of miles away, went on with his life as if nothing had happened. Kierans, from Wisconsin, had just ordered the arrest of the man whose identity he had stolen. On October 31st, 2019, the Los Angeles County Prosecutor's Office filed 2 felony charges against Woods under the misspelled name Matthew Kierans. In court, Woods told the judge, "I am not Matthew Kierans at all." Nobody believed him. Woods spent nearly 2 years in pretrial detention. More than 100 of those days were spent in a psychiatric hospital, committed involuntarily. His insistence on being who he said he was interpreted as a delusion. They medicated him for telling the truth. The irony was brutal. In order for a man to prove he was who he said he was, the institutions declared him incapable of knowing it. On March 17, 2021, exhausted, he entered a plea of nolo contendere. He did not contest the identity theft and false personation charges. He received a sentence of time served and was released immediately. The system had taught him that the truth without papers is a luxury that those without a fixed address cannot afford. Here, in any other story, the case would have been closed. But in February 2023, Kieran's made a mistake. Still posing as Woods, he contacted Detective Ian Mallory of the Iowa University Police. He wanted to complain about the man in California who insisted on being William Woods. The thief called the police to protect what he had stolen. Mallory decided to investigate. He reviewed hundreds of police and government documents. He traced both biographies from Albuquerque. And then he did something that nobody, in more than 30 years of fraud, had thought to do. He requested a DNA test. The test confirmed what logic already suspected. The man in California was the genuine William Woods. The system's architect in Wisconsin was Matthew Kierans. The paper castle collapsed in an instant. 3 decades of lies, torn down by a molecule that cannot be forged or copied or stolen. In 2024, Matthew David Kierans pleaded guilty to aggravated identity theft and to making false statements. He faces a maximum penalty of 32 years in prison. On April 11, 2024, the Los Angeles County Superior Court overturned Woods' conviction and dismissed the charges. Judge William Ryan called the case Kafkaesque, a word reserved for the most absurd mistakes in the judicial system. Woods has expressed his intention to sue the city of Los Angeles for the years he spent deprived of his freedom. Kierans took what did not belong to him, another man's name, credits, employment, family, freedom. He built nothing, he usurped. The difference matters. And perfect crimes, as this story shows, do not need great conspiracies. They only need no one to ask the right question for long enough.